Connect Coding, where we connect coding to you. Today's video is the first episode of our series, Python Fundamentals, where we will be going over the basics of Python. Today, we will be covering the function print and the data types integer, strings, and floats. So you're probably thinking, what is a data type? Data types are pieces of data that are separated into categories on how the computer interprets them.
For example, 3, 16, and 400 are all considered numbers, right? No matter what font you put them in, you look at it and think, wow, that's a number. In coding, whole numbers are considered integers.
So, the number 5, that's an integer, right? But what about 5.5? What would that be called? Since it's not a whole number, this is called a float. Floats are decimal numbers. I like to think of the decimal as a little floaty so that you can swim. That's why we call them floats. Now let's cover a string. What's a string? The things you tie stuff with? No, silly!
A string is a sequence of characters encased in quotes.
Those quotes can be single quotes, double quotes, or even triple quotes. Anything encased in quotes would be a string.
So the question is, can you put a float in a string? And what would it be considered?
It would be a string because it's encased in quotes.
And what if you put an integer in a string?
The same thing applies because it's encased in quotes, so it's a string.
So now that we know what a float, integer, and string is, let's go over print. Print is a function, which is basically a line of code you can use over and over again. It lets you write down anything. When we are calling a function, we have to have parentheses behind it. I like to think of them as a portal. We want to pass through the portal. When we want to pass through the portal, we need to type inside of it, right? So the same thing applies when we want to print or write down something. We have to put quotes inside the parentheses or our portal, and then it'll print. Print will not work with integers or floats unless they are inside a variable, which we'll get into in another video. So let's try printing in the shell. Open Python, IDLE, and type print with the portal at the end. Then use double quotes and type my name is, and then put your name. Then press enter.
So what does this code exactly mean? Print is a function which writes down whatever you put inside of it. So in this case, we put a string, which is any characters encased in quotes, into the parentheses. So what this function is doing is taking what we've put inside of the string, which is my name is, and then your name. In this case, this is Natalie. And it's writing that down or repeating whatever you told it to print. So you may be thinking, why do I want it to just repeat what I'm saying? Isn't that kind of tedious? Well, print is actually really useful. Since we're only using the shell right now, where you just press enter and you see what your program does, we see the immediate answer. When we're making an actual file and we use print, those will be the words or the numbers or whatever you're putting inside that display on the screen. So print is very versatile.
Good job! You just wrote a line of code. In next week's video, I will be going over
More about print and variables.
I'll see you then! Disconnecting!